I stood in front of a building that bore my name. The plaque gleamed in the autumn sunlight, the Alina Chen Center for Student Innovation. Students rushed past me, laughing, chatting, completely unaware that the woman standing there in a simple blazer and jeans was the reason this building existed. And in the crowd gathering for the dedication ceremony, I saw them. My parents. My sister. Their faces frozen in shock, disbelief, maybe even shame. My mother's hand trembled as she clutched her purse. My father stood rigid, his mouth slightly open like he wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. And my sister Melissa, the golden child, the one they'd always chosen, looked at me with something I'd never seen in her eyes before: respect. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me take you back to where it all began. To the day that broke me and remade me. To my 30th birthday. My name is Alina Chen, and I woke up on my 30th birthday in a cramped studio apartment in Seattle, Washington. The rain drummed against my window, typical Pacific Northwest weather, gray and relentless. I'd set my alarm for 6 a.m., even though it was my birthday, because I had work. I worked as a technical writer for a mid-sized software company, pulling in a modest $52,000 a year. Not glamorous, not impressive, but stable. Or so I thought. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, half hoping, half expecting to see birthday messages. Maybe from my mom. Maybe from my dad. Maybe even from Melissa, though we hadn't been close in years. The screen lit up. 3 notifications. One was a spam email about a sale at a furniture store. One was a reminder about my dentist appointment next week. The third was an Instagram notification. My heart did a stupid, hopeful little jump. I opened Instagram and there it was. A photo of Melissa at the airport, designer luggage at her feet, wearing a brand new leather jacket I recognized as Prada. Her smile was radiant, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. The caption read, "Surprise trip to Paris. France airplane, thank you mom and dad for the most incredible early birthday present. I'm the luckiest daughter in the world. Hashtag blessed, hashtag Paris, here I come, hashtag family love." My stomach dropped. I scrolled through the comments. Friends and distant relatives gushing over how lucky she was, how beautiful the photos would be, how wonderful our parents were. And then I saw it. Pinned at the top, where everyone could see it, my mother's comment: "Melissa, you're the daughter who makes us proudest. Have the time of your life, sweetheart. You deserve everything." Red heart, red heart, red heart. I read it 3 times. 4 times. 5 times. Each time, the words cut deeper. The daughter who makes us proudest. Not a daughter. Not both our daughters. The daughter. The only one who mattered. I set my phone down carefully on the bed, my hands shaking. I'd bought myself a single cupcake from the bakery downstairs the night before, chocolate with vanilla frosting. It sat on my tiny kitchen counter, a pathetic little celebration for one. I stared at it for a long time, then picked up my phone again and called my mother. It rang. And rang. And rang. Finally, she picked up. "Alina? Hi, sweetie, I can't really talk right now. We're at the airport with Melissa. She's about to board. Mom, it's my birthday." There was a pause. I could hear the bustle of the terminal in the background, announcements echoing, people talking. Oh. Oh, honey, yes, happy birthday. I'm so sorry, we've just been so busy getting Melissa ready for her trip. I'll call you later, okay? We'll chat properly. When later? I don't know, sweetie, just later. I have to go. Love you. And she hung up. I stood there in my tiny apartment, phone in hand, cupcake on the counter, rain pattering against the window. And I felt something inside me crack. Not break. Not yet. Just crack. Like the first fissure in a dam before the water comes rushing through. Growing up, I'd always been the responsible one. The quiet one. The one who didn't cause problems. Melissa was 3 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, she commanded attention. She was colicky as a baby, dramatic as a toddler, demanding as a teenager. And my parents, instead of setting boundaries, indulged her. When I was 10 and Melissa was 7, I won first place in the county science fair for my project on solar energy. I'd worked on it for months, researching, building, testing. I was so proud. My parents came to the fair, stood in front of my project for maybe 5 minutes, said, "That's nice, honey," and then spent the rest of the time at the snack table because Melissa was bored and wanted to go home. That same year, Melissa joined a youth theater group. My parents attended every single rehearsal, every single performance. They bought her costumes, paid for private acting coaches, drove her to auditions in other cities. When I asked if I could take a coding class at the community center, my dad said, "We can't afford that right now. Maybe next year." Next year never came. In high school, I was on the honor roll every semester. I was editor of the school newspaper. I volunteered at a local animal shelter. My parents never came to a single awards ceremony. But when Melissa made the cheerleading squad her freshman year, they threw her a party. Invited all her friends. Bought her a custom cheerleading jacket with her name embroidered on it. I was a junior that year. Nobody even remembered to ask how my day was. I learned early that love, in my family, was conditional. And the conditions were simple: be Melissa. Since I couldn't be Melissa, I tried to be useful instead. I helped with chores without being asked. I babysat Melissa when my parents wanted date nights. I got a part-time job at 16 and paid for my own school supplies, my own clothes, my own everything. I told myself it was fine. I told myself I was independent. Strong. Self-sufficient. But deep down, I was just trying to prove I was worth keeping around. When I got accepted to the University of Washington with a partial scholarship, my parents' reaction was lukewarm. "That's great, Alina. Good for you." When Melissa got accepted to the same university 3 years later, with no scholarship, my parents posted about it on Facebook, threw her a graduation party, bought her a brand new laptop. I'd been using a refurbished laptop I'd bought with my own money from working at a coffee shop. I worked my way through college, juggling classes, and 2 part-time jobs. I graduated with honors, a degree in English and communications, and $32,000 in student loans. My parents didn't come to my graduation. They said they had a family reunion to attend on Melissa's father's side. Melissa didn't come either. She said she had a date. I stood in my cap and gown with my roommate's family, smiling for photos that my own parents would never see. That night, I cried myself to sleep in my dorm room. But the next morning, I got up. I applied for jobs. I moved forward. Because that's what I did. I moved forward. I got the technical writing job 6 months after graduation and moved into my studio apartment in Seattle. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I decorated it with thrift store finds and plants I bought from the grocery store. I made friends with my coworkers, went to happy hours, tried to build a life. But there was always this hollow feeling in my chest. This sense that I was performing normalcy, pretending to be okay, while underneath I was still that little girl standing in front of her science fair project, waiting for her parents to notice. Melissa, meanwhile, drifted through college. She changed her major 4 times, failed several classes, and took 6 years to graduate. My parents paid for everything: tuition, rent, food, entertainment. They never complained. They never asked her to get a job. They just kept writing checks. When she finally graduated, they threw her a massive party. Rented out a restaurant. Invited everyone they knew. Posted hundreds of photos on social media. I wasn't invited. Well, technically I was. My mom sent me a text 2 days before: "Melissa's graduation party is Saturday at 6. You're welcome to come if you're free." If I was free. Like it was optional. Like my sister's graduation was something I might squeeze in between errands. I didn't go. I told myself it was because I had to work. But really, I just couldn't bear to watch them celebrate her while I remained invisible. That morning, my 30th birthday, I went to work. I sat at my desk, staring at my computer screen, trying to focus on editing a user manual for software I didn't care about. My coworker Jenna stopped by my cubicle around 10 a.m. with a store-bought cupcake and a card signed by the team. "Happy birthday, Alina," she said brightly. I forced a smile. "Thank you. This is really sweet. We're grabbing lunch at that Thai place down the street if you want to join." "I'd love that." Lunch was nice. My coworkers were kind. They asked about my plans for the evening, and I lied. I said I was having dinner with family. They didn't need to know that my family had forgotten I existed. When I got home that evening, I sat on my couch and opened Instagram again. Melissa had posted 3 more photos from the airport lounge. She was drinking champagne, laughing, living her best life. And my mother had commented on every single photo with heart emojis and exclamation points. I thought about calling them. Confronting them. Asking why they'd chosen to send Melissa to Paris on my birthday. Asking why they never celebrated me. But I already knew the answer. Because Melissa mattered, and I didn't. I looked around my tiny apartment. At the cheap furniture. At the single cupcake. At the life I'd built alone. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg for their love anymore. I wasn't going to keep hoping they'd change. I was going to prove to myself, if not to them, that I was worth something. I opened my laptop and started researching graduate programs. I'd always been interested in instructional design and educational technology, but I'd never pursued it because I was too busy working, too busy surviving. But that night, scrolling through program descriptions, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Excitement. Hope. There was a master's program in learning design and technology at a university in Portland. It was a 2-year program and it was expensive. Tuition alone was $45,000. I had maybe $8,000 in savings. And I still had student loan debt from undergrad. It seemed impossible. But I kept reading. The program offered graduate assistantships. If I got one, they'd cover tuition and pay me a stipend. It wasn't much, but it would be enough to live on. I spent the next 3 hours working on my application. I wrote and rewrote my personal statement, pouring everything into it. My background in technical writing. My passion for education. My belief that good instructional design could change lives. I didn't mention my family. I didn't mention the loneliness. I focused on what I could offer. At 2 a.m., I hit submit. Then I closed my laptop, ate my sad little cupcake, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Melissa. "Hey. Just landed in Paris. It's amazing. Thanks for the birthday wishes." Smiling face with smiling eyes, I stared at the message. I hadn't sent her birthday wishes. Her birthday wasn't until next month. She was so self-absorbed she didn't even realize. I didn't respond. Instead, I got up, made coffee, and went to work. Over the next few weeks, Melissa posted constantly from Paris. Photos of the Eiffel Tower. The Louvre. Fancy restaurants. Designer shopping bags. My mother commented on every single post, gushing, praising, celebrating. I muted both their accounts. At work, I threw myself into my projects. I stayed late. I volunteered for extra assignments. I needed the distraction. Jenna noticed. "You okay?" she asked one afternoon. "You've been working nonstop." "I'm fine. Just trying to stay busy." "Is everything okay with your family? You seemed kind of down on your birthday." I hesitated. Jenna had always been kind to me, and I was tired of pretending. "Honestly? My family forgot my birthday. They were too busy sending my sister to Paris." Jenna's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Yeah. Alina, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. It's fine. I'm used to it. That doesn't make it okay. She was right. It didn't. But I didn't know what else to say, so I just shrugged. Jenna reached over and squeezed my hand. You deserve better. Those 3 words hit me harder than I expected. I blinked back tears. Thank you. 6 weeks after I submitted my application, I got an email. I'd been accepted into the graduate program. And I'd been offered a graduate assistantship. Full tuition coverage. A $20,000 annual stipend. I read the email 3 times, my heart pounding. This was real. This was happening. I was getting out. I called Jenna first. She screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Oh my God, Alina. This is amazing. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. I can't believe it. Believe it. You earned this. I wanted to call my parents. I wanted to tell them. I wanted them to be proud. But I stopped myself. They'd probably forget I told them. Or worse, they'd compare it to something Melissa was doing and find a way to make it about her. So, I didn't call. I just sat in my apartment, staring at the acceptance letter, and let myself feel proud. For once, I let myself celebrate. I gave my notice at work 2 weeks later. My boss was disappointed but understanding. Jenna threw me a small going-away party. A few coworkers chipped in and bought me a gift card to a bookstore. It was simple, but it meant more to me than any gift my family had ever given me. I packed up my studio apartment, said goodbye to Seattle, and moved to Portland. The graduate program was intense from day one. I was taking classes, working as a teaching assistant, and trying to keep up with readings and projects. I barely had time to sleep. But I loved it. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who valued ideas, creativity, and hard work. My professors encouraged me. My classmates respected me. I wasn't invisible anymore. I made a friend in the program, a woman named Kara who was in her early 40s and had gone back to school after working in corporate training for 20 years. We bonded over coffee and late-night study sessions. You're really talented, Kara told me one evening as we worked on a project together. You have this way of breaking down complex ideas and making them accessible. That's a rare skill. Thank you. That means a lot. I'm serious. You could teach. You could consult. You could do anything you want. I smiled. Right now, I just want to finish this degree. Fair enough. But don't sell yourself short, Alina. You're going places. I wanted to believe her. And slowly, I started to. I didn't talk to my family much during my first year of grad school. My parents called occasionally, usually because they needed something, help navigating their new phone, advice on a computer issue, a recommendation for a restaurant in Seattle. I always helped. I couldn't seem to stop myself. But they never asked how I was doing. Never asked about school. Never asked if I was happy. Melissa called once, 6 months into my program, to tell me she'd gotten engaged. Oh, wow. Congratulations, I said, trying to sound enthusiastic. Thanks. His name is Tyler. He's a financial analyst. We met at a networking event. The wedding's going to be next summer. Big destination wedding in Mexico. Mom and Dad are paying for everything, obviously. Obviously. You'll come, right? I don't know. I'll be in school. Alina, it's my wedding. You have to come. I'll see what I can do. She didn't push. She just started talking about the venue, the dress, the guest list. I listened, made appropriate noises, and felt nothing. When we hung up, I realized I didn't care. I didn't care about her wedding. I didn't care about her life. I was done trying to be part of a family that had never wanted me. My first year of grad school flew by. I finished with a 4.0 GPA. My professors praised my work. I presented at a regional conference on instructional design. I was building something. Something real. Something mine. That summer, I got an internship at a tech company in Portland, designing training programs for their employees. The pay was decent, and the experience was invaluable. My supervisor, a woman named Dr. Evelyn Torres, took me under her wing. "You have a natural talent for this," she told me. "Have you thought about what you want to do after you graduate?" "I'm not sure yet. Maybe work in higher education. Maybe corporate training." "You should think bigger. You could start your own consulting firm. You could work with universities to redesign their programs. The world needs people like you." I laughed nervously. "I don't know about that." "I do. And when you're ready, I'll be your first client." My second year of grad school was even more intense. I was working on my thesis, a project focused on designing inclusive online learning environments. I was also teaching 2 sections of an undergraduate course, which was terrifying and exhilarating. My students seemed to actually like me. They came to my office hours. They asked thoughtful questions. They told me I made complex concepts easy to understand. One student, a first-generation college student named Maria, stopped by my office one afternoon. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said. "Your class is the first time I've felt like I actually belong here." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Thank you for telling me that. It means more than you know. You're a really good teacher, Professor Chen." "I'm not a professor. I'm just a grad student." "Still. You're really good." After she left, I sat in my office and cried. Happy tears. Because someone saw me. Someone valued me. And it wasn't about what I could give them. It was about who I was. Melissa's wedding was in July, right in the middle of my thesis work. I almost didn't go. But my mother called, her voice tight and strained. "Alina, you have to come to your sister's wedding. She's heartbroken that you might not be there." "I'm working on my thesis, Mom. It's a really critical time. This is your sister's wedding. Family comes first." I almost laughed. Family comes first. Where had that logic been my entire life? But I didn't say that. I just said, "I'll try." Try isn't good enough. You need to be there. I hung up feeling angry and exhausted. Kara, who'd overheard the conversation, looked at me sympathetically. "You don't have to go, you know." "I know. But if I don't, they'll never let me hear the end of it." "Is it worth it?" I thought about that. Probably not. But I'll go. I'll show up. And then I'll leave and never look back. The wedding was exactly as extravagant as I'd expected. A beachfront resort in Cabo San Lucas. 200 guests. A 5-tier cake. A live band. My parents spared no expense. I flew in the day before and stayed at a cheap hotel off the resort because I couldn't afford the room rates my family had booked. The morning of the wedding, I got ready in my tiny hotel room, putting on the bridesmaid dress Melissa had picked out. It was a pale pink monstrosity that cost $300 and looked terrible on me. I did my own hair and makeup, then took an Uber to the resort. When I arrived, the wedding coordinator barely acknowledged me. "You're late," she snapped. "I'm 15 minutes early. Melissa wanted everyone here an hour ago." I bit back a retort and joined the other bridesmaids, none of whom I knew. They were Melissa's college friends, polished and perfect and completely uninterested in talking to me. The ceremony was beautiful. Melissa looked stunning. Tyler seemed nice enough, though I'd only met him once before. My parents sat in the front row, beaming, crying happy tears. I stood on the altar, holding a bouquet of roses, feeling like a prop. At the reception, I sat at a table with distant cousins I hadn't seen in years. My parents were at the head table with Melissa and Tyler. They didn't come over to say hello. They didn't introduce me to anyone. They didn't acknowledge me at all. I ate my dinner, drank 2 glasses of wine, and left before the cake cutting. I took an Uber back to my hotel, changed into comfortable clothes, and booked a flight home for the next morning. As I sat on the plane back to Portland, I made a promise to myself. I was done. Done trying. Done hoping. Done waiting for them to see me. From now on, I was focusing on my own life. And I was going to make it extraordinary. I finished my thesis that fall. It was a comprehensive project analyzing best practices for online learning accessibility, and I was incredibly proud of it. My defense went flawlessly. My committee praised my research, my methodology, my insights. When I walked out of that room with my master's degree, I felt like I was floating. Kara was waiting outside. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. You did it. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. But I'm glad I was here. Dr. Torres, who'd been on my thesis committee, pulled me aside. Alina, I meant what I said before. You should think about consulting. And actually, I have a proposition for you. What kind of proposition? I'm working with a university in California to redesign their entire online learning infrastructure. It's a massive project, and I need someone with your skills. I want to hire you. My heart skipped. Seriously? Seriously. The pay is $85,000 a year, plus benefits. And it's remote, so you can work from anywhere. $85,000. I'd been making $52,000 before grad school. This was life-changing money. When would I start? January. That gives you time to finish up here and relocate if you want. I don't need to relocate. I'll work from Portland. Perfect. I'll send you the details. I walked out of the building that day feeling like my entire life had shifted. I'd done it. I'd built something from nothing. I'd proven, at least to myself, that I was capable. That I was enough. I called Jenna to tell her the news. She screamed even louder than when I'd gotten into grad school. Alina. Oh my God. This is amazing. You're amazing. Thank you. I still can't believe it's real. It's real. And you earned every bit of it. I wanted to call my parents. I wanted to tell them. But I stopped myself. They wouldn't care. Or worse, they'd find a way to diminish it. So instead, I called Kara, and we went out for dinner to celebrate. That night, as I sat in my apartment, I thought about posting on social media. About sharing my accomplishment the way Melissa always shared hers. But I didn't. This wasn't for anyone else. This was for me. I started the consulting job in January, and it was everything I'd hoped for. The work was challenging, engaging, and meaningful. I was helping to create learning environments that were accessible to all students, regardless of their backgrounds or abilities. Dr. Torres was an incredible mentor, and the university team I worked with respected my expertise. For the first time in my professional life, I felt valued. 6 months into the job, Dr. Torres approached me with another opportunity. Alina, how would you feel about presenting our work at a national conference? A national conference? Yes. The Association for Educational Technology is hosting their annual conference in Boston. I think our project would be a great fit. I'd love to. Great. I'll submit the proposal. If we're accepted, you'll be the lead presenter. We were accepted. That fall, I flew to Boston and presented our project to an audience of over 300 education professionals. I was terrified. My hands shook as I clicked through my slides. But as I spoke, something shifted. I found my rhythm. I made eye contact. I answered questions confidently. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. People came up to me afterward, asking for my contact information, telling me how impressed they were. One woman, a dean from a university in Oregon, handed me her card. "We're looking for someone to help redesign our general education curriculum. I'd love to talk to you about consulting with us. I'd be happy to discuss it." Over the next year, I took on more consulting projects. My income grew. I moved out of my tiny apartment and into a spacious loft with exposed brick and huge windows. I bought real furniture. I adopted a cat. I built a life I loved. And still, my family didn't notice. Melissa had a baby the following year, a little girl named Sophia. My mother called to tell me, her voice giddy with excitement. "Alina, you're an aunt. Isn't that wonderful?" "That's great, Mom. Congratulations. We're flying out to stay with Melissa for a month to help with the baby." "That's nice. Aren't you going to come visit?" "I'm pretty busy with work right now." "Alina, this is your niece. Family is important." I closed my eyes. "I'll try to visit when things calm down." "You always say that. You're always too busy." "Yeah, well, some of us have to work for a living." There was a sharp intake of breath. "That's not fair. Isn't it?" She hung up without saying goodbye. I felt a pang of guilt, but it faded quickly. I was tired of pretending. Tired of playing the role of the dutiful daughter who was always available, always understanding, always invisible. 2 years after I finished my master's degree, I was invited to speak at a TEDx event in Portland. My topic was Designing Education for Everyone, Why Accessibility Matters. I spent weeks preparing. Writing. Rehearsing. Refining. The day of the talk, I stood backstage, my heart pounding. This was the biggest audience I'd ever spoken to. What if I messed up? What if people didn't care? But then I thought about Maria, my former student who'd told me I'd made her feel like she belonged. I thought about all the students whose lives could be changed by accessible education. And I walked onto that stage. I spoke for 18 minutes. I told stories. I shared research. I challenged the audience to think differently. And when I finished, the room erupted in applause. People stood. They cheered. And I felt something I'd never felt before, pride. Pure, unadulterated pride. The video of my talk was posted online a few weeks later. It went viral within days, racking up hundreds of thousands of views. I started getting emails from universities, from companies, from organizations around the world, asking me to consult, to speak, to share my expertise. My career exploded. 3 years after my 30th birthday, I was invited to speak at my alma mater, the University of Washington. The invitation came from the provost's office. They wanted me to give the keynote address at a symposium on innovation in education. I almost said no. Seattle held too many painful memories. But then I thought about it. About the girl I'd been. The girl who'd graduated alone. The girl who'd been invisible. And I said yes. I flew to Seattle a few days before the symposium and checked into a nice hotel downtown. I walked around the campus, visiting old haunts, remembering. It felt strange and bittersweet. The day of the symposium, I arrived early. The event was being held in a large auditorium, and the place was packed. I gave my keynote address, and it went even better than I'd hoped. The audience was engaged, asking thoughtful questions, sharing their own experiences. Afterward, the provost approached me. "Dr. Chen, that was extraordinary. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for inviting me. And it's just Alina. I don't have a PhD. Not yet," he said with a smile. "But I have a feeling you will someday. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about something. The university is launching a new initiative focused on inclusive education. We're building a state-of-the-art center for student innovation, and we're looking for someone to lead the curriculum design. I'd like to offer you the position." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "I know it's sudden. But your work speaks for itself. You're exactly the kind of visionary we need." I'm honored. But I'm really happy with my consulting work. I understand. But this would be different. You'd have the resources to make a real impact. A team. A budget. And. He paused. We'd like to name the center after you. The Alina Chen Center for Student Innovation. I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. You want to name it after me? Yes. Your work has already influenced so many institutions. We want to honor that. And we want you to help us build something extraordinary. I couldn't speak. I just nodded. He smiled. Think about it. Take your time. But I hope you'll say yes. I flew back to Portland in a daze. A center named after me. A leadership position at a major university. It felt surreal. I called Kara to tell her. She screamed, of course. Alina. This is huge. Are you going to take it? I don't know. It's a big change. But it's exactly what you've been working toward. You could shape the future of education. You could help thousands of students. I know. I just need time to think. Over the next few weeks, I weighed my options. I loved my consulting work, but this was a chance to build something lasting. Something bigger than myself. I called Dr. Torres to ask for her advice. Take the job, she said without hesitation. This is your moment, Alina. Don't let it pass you by. You really think so? I know so. And I'll still be here if you ever want to consult on the side. I laughed. Thank you. For everything. Thank you. You've been one of the best decisions I ever made. I accepted the position. The university announced it publicly a few weeks later, including the naming of the center. The press release went out. Articles were written. My TEDx talk was shared again. And suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was everywhere. I didn't tell my family. I didn't call. I didn't send a message. I just let them find out the way everyone else did, through social media and news articles. It took 3 days. Then my mother called. Alina? Is this true? Did you really get a position at the University of Washington? Yes. And they're naming a building after you? A center, yes. There was a long silence. Why didn't you tell us? You never asked what I was doing. You never cared. That's not fair. We've always cared. Really? When's the last time you asked about my life, Mom? When's the last time you celebrated something I did? She didn't answer. That's what I thought, I said quietly. I have to go. I have a meeting. Alina, wait, I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. The dedication ceremony for the Alina Chen Center for Student Innovation was scheduled for October. It was a huge event, university officials, donors, students, faculty, press. I was nervous but excited. The center was beautiful. Modern architecture, floor-to-ceiling windows, collaborative spaces designed for creativity and innovation. It was everything I'd dreamed of. The morning of the ceremony, I got ready carefully. I wore a tailored navy suit, simple but professional. I did my makeup, styled my hair, and looked at myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked confident. Successful. Proud. I arrived at the center early. The campus was buzzing with activity. Students were already gathering, curious to see the new building. I stood outside, looking up at the plaque that bore my name. And then I heard voices. Familiar voices. I turned, and there they were. My parents. Melissa. Tyler. Even little Sophia, now a toddler, in Tyler's arms. They looked uncertain. Out of place. My mother's face was pale. My father looked uncomfortable. Melissa met my eyes, and for the first time in our lives, she looked unsure of herself. "Alina," my mother said, her voice shaking. We came. I see that. We wanted to support you. To see what you've accomplished." I didn't say anything. I just looked at them. At the people who'd spent my entire life making me feel worthless. The people who'd chosen my sister over me at every turn. The people who'd ignored me until I became too successful to ignore. "We're so proud of you," my father said. I laughed. It was a bitter, hollow sound. "Now you're proud. Now, when there's a building with my name on it. Now, when I'm being honored in front of hundreds of people. Where were you when I graduated? Where were you on my 30th birthday?" My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Alina, we're sorry. We made mistakes. We know that." "Mistakes," I repeated. "You made me feel invisible my entire life. You celebrated Melissa for everything while I worked myself to the bone just to get a fraction of your attention. And now you want to show up and be proud?" "We're your parents," my father said. "We love you. Love isn't a word. It's action. And you never showed me love. You showed me tolerance. There's a difference." Melissa stepped forward, her voice quiet. "Alina, you're right. About everything. And I'm sorry. I was so blind. So selfish. I didn't see how much you were hurting. I didn't see how much they hurt you." I looked at her, and for the first time I saw genuine remorse in her eyes. "Thank you for saying that. Can we start over?" she asked. "Can we try to be real sisters?" I thought about it. "Maybe. Someday. But not today. Today is mine." She nodded. "I understand." The ceremony started. I walked inside, leaving my family standing outside. I greeted colleagues, students, university officials. I gave a speech about the importance of accessible education, about building spaces where every student feels like they belong. And the entire time I could see my family sitting in the back row. Watching. Listening. Seeing me. Really seeing me. For the first time. After the ceremony, reporters wanted interviews. Students wanted photos. Donors wanted to shake my hand. I was surrounded by people who valued me, who respected me. And my family waited. Finally, when the crowd thinned, my mother approached. "That was a beautiful speech. Thank you. Alina, I know we can't undo the past. But I want to try. I want to be better. To be the mother you deserved." I looked at her. At the woman who'd chosen my sister over me 1,000 times. And I felt nothing. No anger. No hurt. Just a quiet, distant sadness. "I appreciate that, Mom. But I've built a life without you. A good life. And I'm not sure there's room in it for people who only showed up when it was convenient. Please," she whispered. "Give us a chance." "Maybe," I said. "But it's going to take time. A lot of time." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand." I walked away. Not in anger. Not in bitterness. Just in peace. Because I'd done it. I'd proven to myself that I was enough. That I'd always been enough. And I didn't need their approval anymore. Epilogue. It's been 2 years since the dedication ceremony. The Alina Chen Center for Student Innovation is thriving. We've helped hundreds of students. We've redesigned curriculum. We've created programs that are being adopted by universities around the country. I was recently invited to speak at the United Nations about global education accessibility. My consulting firm, which I still run on the side, has worked with institutions in 12 countries. I bought a house. A real house with a yard and a garden. I have friends who feel like family. I have work that matters. I have a life I'm proud of. My relationship with my family is complicated. My mother calls once a month. We talk. It's stilted and awkward, but she's trying. My father sends occasional emails, sharing articles he thinks I'd find interesting. Melissa and I meet for coffee every few months. We're not close, not like real sisters should be, but we're building something. Slowly. She's working on herself, going to therapy, trying to understand the dynamics that shaped us. I respect that. Sophia, my niece, is 4 now. She's smart and curious and hilarious. Sometimes I take her to the park, and she asks me questions about everything. She reminds me why education matters. Why creating spaces where every child feels valued matters. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive my parents. I don't know if I'll ever have the relationship with Melissa that I wish we'd had growing up. But I've learned something important: forgiveness isn't about them. It's about me. About releasing the weight of their choices so I can move forward freely. Some people say the best revenge is living well. I used to think revenge meant proving them wrong. Making them regret how they treated me. But I've realized something better. The best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a life so full, so meaningful, so extraordinary that their approval becomes irrelevant. It's becoming the person you were always meant to be, despite them. Not because of them, and certainly not for them. But because you deserve it. I was invisible for 30 years. But I'm not invisible anymore. And every time I walk past that building with my name on it, every time a student tells me I helped them, every time I stand in front of an audience and share what I've learned, I remember the girl sitting in her tiny apartment on her 30th birthday, eating a cupcake alone. And I want to tell her, it gets better. So much better. You are enough. You've always been enough. And one day, the whole world will see it too. But more importantly, one day, you'll see it yourself. And that's when everything changes.